upper floridian. But if you go to the back shore or if you go to the shore face, you basically most of the bed forms they are lower floridime bed. So this side you get the more lower floridime. This side also you will get the lower. In the middle, the entire upper floridime condition, that is because of the breaking wave, shoaling wave, breaking wave, and the swash and backlash. Okay. Now, what will be the geometry of the bed forms in the shore? Maximum cases, the bed forms they will be lenticular in geometry. Lenticular beds will be lenticular in geometry. There will be the bar and interbar. The shore face will be dominated by bar and interbar. Bar and interbar. What will be the character of the bar? The bars will be, they are thicker sandstone, thicker, cross-stratified, lenticular in geometry. Lenticular. Okay? And interbar, they are thinly bedded, wave rippled. Wave rippled. Let me draw more or less this is a very characteristic pattern of the sand. You see these lenticular geometry cross-stratified. These may be the shore face bars, and these are the interbar. This may be the medium sand, but this may be fine sand. These are the shore face bar interbar sequences that we get. Okay. Now, when I say the decrease in the thickness of it, as you go from proximal to distal, you will be getting the lesser thick these bodies. You will be getting the cross-set thickness decreasing. You will get the bars will be more separated and interbar is more increasing. The degree of amalgamation, this is amalgamated bar. The degree of amalgamation will be less. That means most of the bars they are separated by interbar. They will not come in touch with one another. So degree of amalgamation will decrease. So these are the changes I expect when I go from the proximal to the distal in a short case. Okay. Now we will come to the shell. Any question here? Okay. You have to read books, and then if you feel any question, then you have to ask. What are the major currents that I get operated in the shell? In a shell, I may get this is the coastline, that is the whatever the shore face beach, that whatever you are saying, that the entire sandy part that is being shown here, and there at the end of the sandy part I may also have the longshore current that is operating, the longshore current. Now in the shelf, what are the currents? Sometimes at the high flood stages, when the river system is flooded, the river system, it may supply the sediment onto the shelf, which is actually the estuary density plume, in the form of estuary density plume, which is a density current. Okay, because river water, this is a lighter water, and it carries a sediment, so it may be floating or it may be sinking, but it may come onto the shelf. But one major process which is operating, that is the storm, which upwells. I will come in detail about the storm action, but that is the upwelling and then the return flow. The return flow, it becomes parallel to the shoreline because of the Coriolis force, that is called geostrophic current. What I have said, the storm makes upwelling. We will discuss, and we will discuss again that how it operates. So upwelling and geostrophic current. The riverine supply, it may also act as a fine grained material which basically float onto the shelf, which is called nepheloid layer. So nepheloid layer, and then you have the wave which may form some rip channel and rip current. That rip current can also carry the sediment into the shelf. So this is an attempt to show you what are the different currents that operate on the shelf. Major, what I told, that it is storm. It causes the upwelling, it causes the return flow, and it causes the geostrophic current. Then there is another, that is the high flood stages, the river water, then the estuarine water that may supply the sediment onto the shelf, either as a surface layer, that is called nepheloid layer, or as a density current in the form of density plume. And the third is that the wave that may cause some rip channel to be formed. So rip channels, they may supply the sediment. So there, I have seen the number one is a storm action. Number two is a density current. And number three is the rip current. At the upper limit of the shelf, we may also get the longshore current. People have also described from the shelf contour current. These are the major current process that operates in a shelf. Okay? Storm, density current, rip current, longshore current, and contour current. Now, let us first discuss the storm, how storm works, and what is the process and what is the product of storm. Now, storm is such a process, such a event, which to observe it physically, it is not possible. During storm, no one can go into the ocean and can see that how storm is acting in the ocean, how it is carrying sediment, how sediment is interpreted. So the identification of storm deposit and what is the storm structure, storm working procedure, that was delayed for a long time. And first person who came with a model of storm sedimentation, his name is Harms et al. In the year 1975, he first came out with the model of storm, that how really storm acts, Now, if I do a two-dimensional diagram, then the storm is always generated into the, just few days back, we had a storm in our country, so we know very good how the storm, and it creates in the open ocean by means of some kind of low pressure zone development. So low pressure zone development, and that low pressure zone, because it is a completely the movement of air that causes the low pressure development into the ocean. This low pressure development and the stress of air on the oceanic water, that causes the creation of the waves. Creation of the waves. Now these waves then move towards the coast. Now two things that happen, that as it moves to the coast, towards the coast, the amplitude of the waves increases. Because amplitude of the waves become more asymmetrical, and amplitude of the, because that's why you always see during the storm there is a warning for the fishermen not to go for fishing, because the storm becomes most devastating as it approaches to the shallow water, because of as I discussed, that the depth of the wave decreases and the amplitude increases, and that becomes devastating at that time. But what really storm does, it scraps the water and piles it onto the shoreline. And that is why that the water, as it piles onto the shoreline, you get the lot of coastal area that gets flooded. And you must have seen in the WhatsApp that lot of this last storm which has come in the Odisha and the West Bengal, I am sure that you people have got that video, that how the different coastal areas, they are flooded. Haven't you got that in WhatsApp? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. So why it happens? Because the storm is basically scraping the water from the surface layer and piling it onto the shoreline, which is called the coastal pileup. Now, as storm is scraping this water and piling, then what will happen? There will be a water mass that will be accumulating here, and a reverse gradient will form. And that actually to fill, so there will be a reverse hydraulic gradient, reverse hydraulic gradient will form, where from the shoreline there will be a movement of water into the deeper water, because you have a piling of water near to the coastline by the movement of surface water, and and that causes a hydraulic gradient. And that's why there will be a return flow. There will be a return flow along the base, so then the surface, the water is moving towards land, and in the base, the water is moving back. This kind of cycle that basically creates during the storm. Okay? And this is what you call the return flow. And how is the shoreline? Shoreline is like this. So the return flow, that is the perpendicular to the shoreline. So what happens, that if this is the shoreline, and the return flow, it starts moving perpendicular to the shoreline, it moves. But when it is away from the shoreline, near to the shelf, it comes onto the action of the Coriolis force. Coriolis force, because of the rotation of the earth. Now this Coriolis force that basically starts deviating this flow, and finally it makes the flow parallel to the shoreline. So the flow starts perpendicular to the shoreline, but on reaching to the shelf, it may become the parallel to the shoreline. Now this, when it becomes parallel to the shoreline, so this is what we call the return flow. And this is when it becomes parallel to the shoreline, we call it geostrophic flow. So from this coastal pile-up or coastal build-up, this is because of the air scraping the water from the surface of the ocean and piling up or building up onto the coastline. That creates a hydraulic gradient ocean-wide, and a return flow starts. The return flow initially becomes perpendicular to the shoreline, but when it goes significant distance from the shoreline and it is a free flow, it comes under the action of the Coriolis force. And by the Coriolis force, it deviates and becomes parallel to the shoreline. Then we call it a geostorm. This is the actual operation of a storm. When the storm happens, how our coastline that is basically suffers the kind of flow that operates in the shoreline. That is actually like this. Now, what is the typical product of the storm? What is the characteristic product of the storm? So the characteristic product of the storm is called hummock. Hummock is called the characteristic product of the storm. Now, what is hummock? How it differs from the other bed form? Hummock is, see, till date, whatever the bed form I have or the sedimentary structure, I have only discussed that some are depositional structure and some are erosional structure. This is how I have described. Suppose a ripple, a cross stratification, all these are the depositional structure, and a flute, a channel, a gutter, all these are erosional structure. I have already, we are always discussing a deposition, but we have not discussed any structure which at the same time erosional and depositional. We have not did that. At the same time, they are erosional and depositional. Hummock is that structure which is at the same time erosional and depositional. How it happens? Because storm is such a flow which is not available in any other kind of natural flow. Any other kind. Storm is a very high velocity, very high energy, and high velocity flow. At the same time, it carries a huge sediment in suspension. That is the kind of energy a storm creates. A storm creates a velocity that is about 160 to 170 kilometers per hour. So you can understand what is the kind of energy a storm creates. And that is capable of this very high energy flow with a huge sediment suspension. So actually a storm flow, it is a three-layer flow. So if you divide if you see the flow, then there are three layers, A, B, C. Three layers of them. So basal layer, that is basically the erosional layer. And the top layer, it is a heavily suspension layer. So what actually happens that when a storm interacts with the sediment surface, then the storm it may erode. But since it erodes, so in the process of erosion, the storm flow loses its energy because it will spend energy to erode. And as it loses the energy, then immediately what happens, the huge sediment which is in suspension, that basically starts settling. And then it will become the piston. So this is the erosion, then the deposition. So the storm flow, because of its high shear at its base, it erodes. But in the erosion process, it loses its energy, and then the suspension cloud starts depositing. So it is a hummock is a domal structure with centripetal dip. Domal structure with centripetal dip. Okay. Now, this is the typical character of the hummock. And when we get the hummocky cross stratification, then this hummocky, so a bed, suppose I am getting a bed, and within that I am getting this hummocky cross stratification. Hummocky cross stratification. At the base, I may get the gutters. This is a typical, this is the plane lamination. I may get the plane. There are some cross stratification. You may get some lenticular beds. This is how the storm beds are. Okay. And this storm is a major product in case of the shell. Now these hummocks are also classified into active hummock and passive hummock. Active hummock, active and passive. Okay. The active hummocks, which may not have this erosional lower part, which may generate even on the planar surface, the hummock may generate. These are mostly found in the distal shell. Whereas the passive hummock, which is something like this, these are more common in the inner shell. Any question?
सर ये पैसिव और एक्टिव एक बार दोबारा बता दें.
Passive hummock is active hummock is that where the hammock has no other provocation. It is creating right on the planar surface. Even in the planar surface, they are creating the hammock geometry. There is no erosional surface below. So I call it the actively it is forming the hammock. But the passive hummock is that there is a in the active hammock what is happening that the storm is depositing the sediment and forming the hammock. But in the passive hammock what is happening that because the storm is eroding, so it is losing energy, and because the losing of the energy, the sediment is deposited and it is forming hammock. So it is a passively because of the other action of the storm, the hammock is forming. Okay.
Yes,
and that is more common when you are in the inner shell, that means proximal shell. But the passive hammock, the active hammock is more common in the distal shell. Okay, so how we get the shelf? How we differentiate between the inner shelf and the middle or outer shelf product? So in the inner shelf, what I will be expecting, mostly the inner shelf. It is all the shelf succession. They are basically the sandstone shell succession. Sandstone shell succession. Whereas in case of shore face, it is mostly sandstone siltstone succession. Shell mud content is very, very low because the wave energy is very high. Here the wave energy in general, there is not much fair weather wave action, wave energy low, except some incidents of storm when the wave energy becomes extremely high. But the storm can only operate for 2 days, 3 days, not more than that. the normal fair weather condition that dominate, and then the energy is very low. So it will be mostly the shell dominated. The sand come when there is a storm action. So then the mostly is a sandstone shell. In case of inner shell, normally the shell, they will be reddish shell. Reddish shell. The sandstones, which may be storm guided, they may be thicker and more amalgamated. The sandstone base, I should expect gutter, flute, etc. Okay? As you move towards the outer shell, what I will get? The shell will be gray or black shell. Fine. The sandstones, those storm dominated, they will be less thick and less amalgamated. The hummocks, they will be more active hummocks, and they will be more tendency to be symmetrical hummocks. Here, inner shell, I will get more of passive hummock and asymmetrical hummock. At cases, here the storm bed may be reworked by fair weather wave. At cases, but no fair weather wave here. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I stop here and next class we'll be discussing the continental slope, and then we'll go to the submarine fan. With that, we'll be ending our plastic discussion. Then we'll go to carbon. So I'll try to complete the plastic discussion next Thursday, so that from Friday we can start the carbon. Okay. And if people read in the meantime, please read all these things. And then if you face any problem, you are not able to understand anything, because I have said that you have to read it from the book of Sam Bowles, Gary Nichols, Harold Reading. So all these books, that if you find any difficulty of understanding, please ask the question. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.